I am Cole Burkeen. It's June 29th, 2024. I'm sitting in a parking lot with some time to kill and thought I'd try to explain what a sharing session is. If you're hearing this term, sharing session, it's likely that, of course, it's not certain because this is a vague term, could be used in a lot of different contexts, but it's likely that what you're hearing is a reference to a particular meeting format that has emerged in um, a widespread organization that is intended for consensus building and not for decision making. Um, so a sharing session is is a meeting, and I'm going to describe how it's normally done on Zoom because that's where they tend to work the best. Actually, I've seen these things done a lot, um, and to very good purpose in that environment. So uh, on Zoom, you get a bunch of people together in a sharing session where, there's a wide divergence in the amount of, I don't know, expertise, passion, knowledge, experience on a certain subject, but where an important decision has to be made and where you may not have complete consensus, where everyone probably will ultimately have a vote. Um, and you just kind of need to see where everybody stands. So the facilitator decides as the meeting is beginning how much time will be available. If everyone speaks for an equal amount of time, how much time is going to be available for each person to speak, appoints a timekeeper, turns off cell phone meeting, disables the chat box, and then just goes around the room in a certain order, whatever order you want to use, and calls on each person to address a certain question. Um, every person gets the same amount of time, and if there's time at the end, you go back around again, and um, or even a third time. Sometimes nobody has to speak. You can pass when you're called on, but in this environment where nobody can interrupt another person. Um, you can't raise your hand to contradict or correct or supplement or add another thought or whatever. Um, what you find is that you don't get this phenomenon where the highly verbal, highly articulate, highly informed, and very passionate members of a group dominate the discussion. Instead, you get to hear the quiet voices. And sometimes that's very, very valuable. And at the very least, it contributes to unity and understanding and a feeling among everybody in the organization that they're being heard. Um, so I highly recommend it. I guess I'll mention also that it's useful uh, often for these things to be recorded uh, for the benefit of people who can't participate in the event itself after the fact. They can get a sense of what was actually said. Normally, it's not recommended that you have minutes or some kind of a recap, a written recap of a sharing session, because inevitably a thing like that is going to be incomplete and there'll be a certain spin to it. It's just so hard to be completely neutral in writing up something like that. Um, once a group has kind of learned how to do this, the benefits become obvious to everybody in my experience. But at the beginning, when a group first starts using sharing sessions, it's frustrating to some members because people will not understand what it will seem like a waste of time because we're not making any decisions. Or people who really feel strongly about an issue and hear others say things that they are just convinced are wrong and need to be corrected immediately. Those people will get frustrated, but even they will come to love this format over time, um, just because we learn so much and we we see the benefits that it has for the organization.